Guys, it's Gus, and this is my Module 28 Warden Ranger build. Man, it's been a long time since I said that. Uh, Two caveats. I consider myself an infant with the Warden. There's so much I don't know about the Warden yet. So, over time, as we learn more, the build could change. And secondly, I think there's a lot about the Warden nobody knows yet. So, when we go over powers, I'm just going to skim over it because I believe that's worthy of its own video as we learn more about it. But you got to go into content and learn how to your rotation and stuff. So, here's the build I'm going to do it with. So I am currently a gift. This is my second time making this video. The first time was a metallic dragonborn. You can do a lot with the metallic dragonborn because it gives an extra offensive stat. But I was able to tweak a little bit and fine tune it. So I'm still a gift. I am using the MDWP crit helm still. And the new dungeon does drop a helmet, and I got it. And it gives 10% combat advantage. It's 850 more item level, and it gives 10% combat advantage instead of crit. There's a big downside with this. It takes 50 seconds to build those 10 stacks, and I'm pretty sure that if you die, you lose those stacks. So I'm not going to be using this helmet. Uh, I'm sticking with what works and gets me a lot of damage really fast. I'm still using the crust, the old Dragon Hunt helm chest piece that gives crit and crit strike. Man, this thing is so old and it's still relevant. That's great. I'm still using the Demon Web Pits gloves. These give 3% crit and 3% forte. For weapons, we have a lot of choices. I do know people are saying that the Mirage are still pretty good. But I'm gonna stick with what helps all the time, even when their Mirage aren't up. So these are from the Moon Dancer, and what these give is 10% movement speed, which is great. You're gonna need that all the time in this dungeon, and almost 12% outgoing damage at certain points. It's gonna give you a flat 6% damage, and then an extra 5.5% up to based off the enemy's remaining health. So these bows are pretty good, and they're higher item level, and they give 250 base damage. So you can use the Mirage, you can use Mastercraft weapons. What I don't recommend is using the new weapons. I have them. I have the ones from the Advanced and the Master, and I still haven't equipped them yet. They appear so bad. I don't know why these reds the game. The one good thing is they give 12% movement speed. Yay. And you can get up to 6% outgoing damage, just double to 12%. But here's the problem. You gotta be in combat with one single opponent, and anytime more than one enemy shows up, four more enemies show up, you start losing those damage stacks. Uh, I'm trying to maybe these will be helpful on the second boss, but the second boss is probably the least of anybody's problems in the new dungeon. So I'm not using these weapons, and I'm not recommending them. Well, that could change over time if we figure out something cool with them. I am using the new boots though. These give 7% outgoing damage in Wild Space, which is Moon Dancer, the Zone, and the Imperial Citadel. And apologies for being so stuffy. My kids are still bringing home stuff from school. Um, I'm in all these gears. Look, I'm using Armor Reinforcement, Crit Strike, Crit Strike, Crit Strike, and Crit Strike. For the artifact, every group you want to have a demo in, and nobody wants to use it. So I'm just equipping it, and it's nice because I never really have to change my artifact. So you will get a little bit more damage using the 1500 item level. You will get a little bit more ratings because this one's only 2 offensive ratings and not 3. But I'm okay with that. If I wasn't using it, I would like the extra accuracy. I could use the extra accuracy, but I don't have it. Well, I'm obviously gonna be using this, but if I was gonna use a 1500 item level, I'd use one with some accuracy, and you'll see why in a moment. You can use any artifact you want. If you're an unskilled content, higher item level is good, and so you want to use 1500 item level. And if you're a DPS, you probably want as many offensive ratings as you can. So you want to use these triple slot, or you get 3 offensive ratings. You got to use for this build. I'm using the portable spelljammer. This one only gives 2 offensive ratings, so I'm losing out on 1125 offensive ratings, and I could actually use those, as you'll see. So I'm losing a little bit of ratings using this, but the set bonus is pretty good. The detector set is what these do is every time you use encounter, you get a stack, and you can have up to 7 stacks. And 7 stacks will give you 7% forte and 7% combat advantage. So this set will give you 7% combat advantage, 3.5% power, and 1.75% accuracy, which is really good. And it gives outgoing healing, but I don't really know how we can use that yet on the Ranger. Uh, the downside is you have to use 7 encounters, but luckily we have a way to get those stacks very quickly. There is 2 necks and 2 belts in the detector set. I took the neck that gives the forte. The other one gives like defensive ratings. And for the belt, I took the one that gives strength and charisma. The other one I believe is dexterity and intelligence. I believe it was intelligence, and we're not using intelligence too much that I know of. For the rings, this is the main reason I had to make the second video. The first one, I was a Metallic Dragonborn, and I was using the damage ring for the new zone. Um, which, just if you're curious, is this ring right here that gives 5% damage in wild space. So I'm not using that. What I chose to do instead is I took the 8% at will ring, which it really isn't going to be a very much damage. But the set bonus gives you 2.5% outgoing damage. So we have 5% to our encounters, 8% to our outwills, and 2.5% to everything. But what I was able to do was take off the combat advantage shirt and put on the 4% damage shirt in wild space. So on this front page, we have a lot of outgoing damage. We have the damage weapons, we have the damage boots, we have the damage ring, we have the damage ring, we have the set bonus damage from the rings, and we have the 4% outgoing damage shirt. So there's a lot of outgoing damage in this build, which is really good. Because once you've achieved all you want in ratings, the only 2 other really big ways to get more damage is higher item level and more outgoing damage. And we're doing that. You're going to see more of it in this build. Uh, on this side, I'm using all the. They all have combat advantage armor reinforcement kits in those 4. Stats. I know people get a hard on for stats. I put everything in strength and dexterity, except I put 1 point in charisma, believe it or not. For consumables, it's going to use a flask of potency, a sorbet, 5% sorbet, a ratatouille, which you don't need. If you can use all the ratings, it's 4% accuracy and 20,000 hit points, and a Sunlord's gift elixir. Now this build does rely on 4 different outgoing group bonuses. It relies on tutor, which very rarely will you not see a tutor in master content. It also relies on mystic aura, pack tactics, and runic aura. Very rarely will you not see those in master content. So you got to keep in mind when we're looking at these bonuses, I'm going to add those in there. So for power, we're going to get 4,500 power from the runic aura and mystic aura. And from accuracy, we're going to get 2,250 as well, right? And for combat advantage, we're going to get 2,250 from the pack tactics. So right now, my power just went up because I'm blessed advantage. So we're going to set to no cooldowns. We're going to come over here. And we're going to attack this guy. So first, remember the power is at 92.1. And let's go and just attack till we get some stacks. Okay. Now we're at 85.6. Remember, we're getting 4,500 from the pack tactics and I'm sorry, runic and mystic aura. So this will put us at 90.1 power. Apologies for wasting almost 100 radiance, but it's very hard to get it to exactly 90. So 89.9, 90.1 is usually where you're going to see it at. So our power is capped. We're just slightly over on by 0.1%. Now accuracy. Remember, we're going to get 2,250 accuracy from the mystic aura as well. So let's see where we're at right now. We get everything propped. Where we at? So we're at 87.1. If we add 2.2% from Mystic Aura, we'll be at 89.3%. If you want to cap it, if you really want to min-max, you can use Invocation Blessing. And obviously, if I was using a triple slot main artifact, that would be capped as well. So you can either use the Invocation Blessing, you can use the Scroll of Fate Recovery, or you cannot use the Demogorgon artifact. So 89.3, I'm okay with that. combat advantage. Now, there's a couple of things I want you to remember. We're going to get 5% from tutor. We're going to get 2.25% from the pack tactics. And we're also going to get 2.5% from the spider totem. But I don't have the spider totem activated because it gives an extra offensive rating, and I don't want that to mess up the ratings when you guys are watching this. So I don't have it activated. So remember, we're going to have 5% tutor, 2.5% from the spider totem, and 2.25% from the pack tactics, which is, I'm sorry, 2.2 plus 2.5 plus 5 is 9.7. So we're going to add 9.7 to whatever this shows up in the ratings, okay? And we're at 80.5. So we're going to be overcapped by 0.2% on combat advantage, which is a real stinker. I don't want to be, but we are. Here's my biggest thing I don't like about this build. Crit strike, I am wasting 31 offensive ratings. I really don't like doing that. But sometimes I couldn't figure out a way to get rid of those 31 without being over in another rating. So I am wasting some ratings in this build. As you saw, we're over by 0.2% on combat advantage. We're over by 0.1% on power. We're over by 31 ratings in crit. But crit's going to be pretty good. It's going to be in a pretty nice spot. Just a sec. Let's attack a little bit. We're at 89.8. I'm okay with that. If we're missing 0.2% crit strike, I'm okay with it. I think most people will. And crit sev is 89.9. So we're 1/10% away from there, which I love. So we're missing 0.7 on accuracy, but if we use an invocation blessing, we're not. So power's capped with invocation blessing, accuracy's capped. Combat advantage is capped. Crit strike, we're under by 0.2, and crit sev, we're under by 0.1. So we are this build is missing 0.3% stats, which is nothing at all. And we can actually cap those if we wanted to get really crazy. But remember, we're using the minimal group buffs as we can. We're using the minimal group buffs as we can. We're still using as much outgoing damage as we can. Let's go and summon this guy since we don't need him anymore. Whatever enchantments you need to hit the ratings you want to hit, I'm using all offensive double stat because they give more ratings. So I currently have an onyx here, an opal, and an aquamarine. And then on defensive, I don't know if defense helps at all in this game for DPS, so I just put whatever double slot I have here. Utility, you do want to put the Garnet. This gives Forte, which is perfect for this build. As you can see, power is perfectly... Well, it's over by 0.1%. I do know you may get slightly more damage out of AP gain or recharge bonus enchant, but I really like the movement speed. 18% movement speed makes this game a lot more fun. We're using the Celestial Lightning enchant. We're using Devil's Precision, and we're using Rage of Flames. Now, in a lot of the content in this game, the Astral Slayer is actually better. But the thing is most people get stuck at bosses. And I don't believe the Astral Slayer works on any of the bosses. So you'll want to use Rage of Flames. Actually, I think the Astral Slayer works on the lieutenants in Moondancer. So on Moondancer, I do use the Astral Slayer. Appearance is nothing. I don't even know where to begin on powers. This, I think, is this whole other video. But there's a reason why we're getting so many ratings on this with the Warden. So, we have two choices right here. We have Skirmisher's Gamut that increases your crit severity by 10%. All the time, no matter what. And then we have To the Wind that gives you a 5% additional bonus to throw Caution, which is a 10% buff for 5 seconds after you throw Caution. Well, the problem is you don't have this buff up 100% of the time. So when you do use it, instead of a 10% bonus, you have a 15% bonus. Crit Sev is worth 10%. Crit Sev is worth way more than 5% outgoing damage. And the Crit Sev is 100% uptime. Now, if there is a way to get this Crit Sev in this build without diminishing what I currently have and still use Throw Caution, of course I would do that. but I don't believe there is currently with what's available in the game that I've seen. So I think we're getting more out of Skirmish's Gamut, the build is, using the crit sev than the throw caution. I could be wrong. Somebody may come up with something better. Uh, I don't even want to start getting on powers, guys, because I don't know. I don't even have one selected here because they're all doo-doo. I do know there's a lot of sexy stuff we're doing. When you have Blade Hurricanes, this got upgraded. Now when you use a range encounter, it buffs your ranged at wills also. And like when I did Moon Dancer last night, electric shot is an AoE for 100 magnitude, and so it's basically 200 magnitude every zero point 0.7 seconds, and you can start shredding those enemies with that. I really enjoyed that. Uh, Split this guy is so damn clunky. Thorn Ward is so damn clunky. I'm also getting 5% accuracy from Aspect and Lone Wolf. Let me show you why. First of all, Seeker's Vengeance is not as good as we think it is. I don't believe it works on our mount power, so there goes 3,000 damage just not being affected by it. From what I could tell from my testing, Seeker's Vengeance is not working on Split the Sky or Thorn Ward. So basically, over half of our encounter damage is not being affected by this buff. But it's still going to benefit us. Crushing Roots does no damage whatsoever. Aspect of the Pack. So there's a post on this. Thank you, Ruhind. He actually did a post on this, and I've known about it. I just never brought it up. This Stormy's the one who first told me about it. This 5% group bonus for combat advantage is very unreliable. It's very clunky, and we can't build around it because it's so tore up and it needs a lot of help. So I'm not building around this. We would if it worked properly, like it said. Aspect of the Serpent, there's two reasons I'm not using this. First of all, when you're using Flurry, you're going to be using 3 at wills, 4 at wills in a row. So, well, that might benefit, but it won't benefit. You're not really doing that in your rotation, going back and forth. But Aspect of the Serpent does not work on Split the Sky. It does not work on Thorn Ward, which is a big stinker. Storm Step is pretty much useless with Tacticians. Blade Storm is actually worse than it used to be on the Warden before Mod 28, because before Mod 28, basically all the Warden's powers, we were in melee the entire time. Now we're not in melee the entire time. As a matter of fact, we might be in range more than we're in melee. So it was already a crappy low power to begin with, and it's even worse now. And then we got Twin Blade Storms, which in a boss fight, because this is a single target build, you're not going to be using this in a single target build. And I know I will get comments about or questions about AoE builds below, and I don't know if I'll ever do an AoE build. The reason being is I've been playing this game for 9 years, and I have still yet to ever see somebody in PE or Alliance chat say Mick stuck at 4 set of mobs need a high DPS. I've never seen that one at a time in 9 years. It's always stuck at third boss, stuck at first boss, stuck at second boss. Single target is what this game is. AoE is fun because it gets you through it fast and it gives you a whole bunch of shiny numbers on the leaderboard, but it has no effect in the game whatsoever. This game is all about single target. So I don't even talk about it because I don't want newer players to even worry about AoE since it's not something they need to worry about. I guess if you're solo play, but even then, the game's so easy in solo play. So everything's pure shit right here. Everything is. So by default, you got to go with Aspect of the Wolf that's giving you, or Lone Wolf that's giving you 5% accuracy. So as a Warden, as a Ranger, all you get is this class Stance Mastery. Not Stance Mastery, Weapon Mastery. Both Warden and Ranger have this. It's 2.5% crit strike. But what the Warden has that the Ranger doesn't have is it has this 10% Skirmish Gambit, and it has 5% Aspect of Lone Wolf. So you're getting a lot of ratings. Well, technically the Hunter has Aspect of the Pack too. It's just such an unreliable power to use that you probably shouldn't build around it unless you figure out a way to use it reliably. Maybe we're just trying it out wrong. But this whole page right here is deserving of its own video. That's why I said we'll just go over it shortly. A stronghold, whatever you need. I'm using Revive Sickness on the bosses, and I'm using Crit Sev. A campaign, you want all the offensive you can. You want You want marathon runner if you can get it. You want to put 4 points into Forte, 4 points into AP, and 4 points into recharge. I also put 3 points into Blessed Advantage. It gives you recharge, power, and a heal over time. Life Lessons, which gives you a heal over time and a damage over time. Bloodlust, that gives you AP gain and a debuff on the enemy. And I still had more points to put. You could put it either in the Deathly Rage, which is nice because if you, let's say you lose your 2.5% Spider Totem combat advantage, this could make up for it, right? And I'm under by 0.1% on crit sev, so this would make up for that 0.1%. But really, Death's Bulwark is probably more helpful because it's going to give you a shitload of defensive ratings. So 6 defense, 6 critical avoidance, and 6% temporary hit points. That's all. That's a lot of. This was actually probably more helpful. Uh, Companions. So all three are the Starbound Sornot, the Companion. Super dirt cheap. They're like 55k in the campaign store as opposed to the 500k ones. We're using Mythic Celestial Companion enhancement. We're using Acute Senses, which is pretty standard, 7.5% combat advantage. Um, Companion bonuses. So we're using Neverwinter Night, Minsk, Bateri, Rat Pup, Cat's Golden Instincts. So you can swap out for the Rat Pup. You can't. This one's kind of expensive. You can also use the Tomb Spider. And then what I'm doing if I'm in an AoE, God, why did I say that? I said I wouldn't talk about AoE, but I do swap out the Bateri for the Spine Devil now that it is supposedly working again. But you might notice I don't have a Raptor here. And if you notice, I'm not doing a whole lot to get Raptor. How I'm getting power is you saw we're getting 4,500 from Runic and Pack Tactics, or Runic and Mystic, which is really standard. You're gonna see that in every single group in Master Content. We're getting 5% from the Sorbet, and as you can see, we're still way under on power. If we wanted to cap our power without Runic and Mystic, we could easily do that. We just have to sacrifice some accuracy. But where we're getting most of our power is from Forte. Forte is giving us 31.3% power, and it's given us almost 16% accuracy as well. So what I'm using a lot of Forte to make up, uh, because I'm getting 31% power from Forte and 4% from the campaign boons and 5% from the sorbet were capped. There's literally no reason to use a Raptor. Now, if a group invites me, says we need you to use a Raptor, okay, I'll take off this Rat Pup and I'll use a Raptor and I'll just be overcapped by 18% power. But the problem is when I do that, there's nothing I can do in this build to take off power that will improve the build. With one small change, and I'll get to that. So, if the group really wants me to use a Raptor, I'll take off the Rat Pup or the Tomb Spider, whichever one I'm using, and I'll use the Raptor. I'll just be overcapped by 18% power for no reason. There's nothing wrong with this. A lot of people are still building. They're not completely min-maxed yet. So the Raptor's really good for them. But once your build's getting there, if the I was doing on my Ranger that gets 2.5% crit strike, and TRs are doing it on the TRs get the lowest ratings stats of any class. They get 2% combat advantage. So if the HRs and TRs can do it, you can see how easy it is on other classes. Oh my goodness, I get that 10% skirmish gambit crit sev on this Warden, and I can go crazy, right? So yeah, I'm not using it. If the group needs, and what's great about, there's a couple awesome things about having lots of Forte and not using a Raptor. First of all, it's cheaper to run content because you're not running that squash soup. Second of all, this is good for all content. If you're running a Raptor build in solo content, you're running around with 75% power. So the Raptor build kind of stinks in solo content, and it stinks in casual content too. When I do the easy stuff like random queues and Reapers, I host those every single day, usually in PE and Alliance chat. And I take the first 4 people who ask. A lot of times they're not using Raptors, so my Raptor's wasted. So this is good for casual content. and it's good for min-maxing for master content as well. If they want me to go, if all I lose by replacing the rat pup is whatever damage that rat pup's giving me. It's giving us damage. I don't know how much. I've heard 2%, I've heard 3%, I've heard 4%. I'm not sure yet. So if I put a raptor on, I'm not losing anything in this build except this rat pup bonus. I don't have to change anything around. There is builds. I'm gonna be really enjoying this. Hopefully, I enjoyed the Warden as much as I like the build. Uh, I think I covered it for the companions mounts. So this is where we're getting a lot of our forte. So we're using ferocity right here. You have a couple choice. There's really 5 choices we have in the game right now for what you can put right here. You could put in. Just a sec. I'm getting there. You can put in Mystic Aura, which gives everybody 4,500 offensive ratings. You can go Mystic. You can go Frosty, which I have. You can go Pack Tactics, gives everybody 2,200, 2,250 combat advantage, 2,250 awareness. You can also go Runic Aura, that gives everybody 2,250 power and 2,250 defense. Where is it? Right there. So there's the 3 auras. We can use Ferocity, and we could use what I've been using, thanks again, Ruhind, is quick action. Man, on my hunter, this is so good because it allows us to yeah, to take advantage of tacticians even more. I don't know on the Warden if it's going to be that. I have to get. I'm still a baby with the Warden. I still don't know when I can use my dailies, if I can use it more than once an artifact call. Until I learn that, and as of now, quick action really won't help because I can get my daily back before the artifact call. Quick action is for if you can't get your daily back before your artifact call, or if you want to use more than 2 dailies, one between your artifact call and one at your artifact call. There's also Providence, and I don't know enough about Providence, and I've been playing around with it. I went to the dummies and I practiced 10 times. And I wrote down how many hits it took. I had to get hit an average of 26 times for this to activate. Man, that was brutal. But maybe this is a good one. I just haven't been able to figure it out yet. Hopefully somebody tests this thoroughly and lets the community know. Um, for the colors, I'm still using the exact same colors I've been using since Sharandar. The movement speed, the encounter, the crit sev, the gold bonus. I should be using the rough AD, I guess, and the stamina gain. So the same colors I've been using forever. Now, I'm only using 2 powers that have the preferred bonus because unfortunately there isn't a preferred bonus for tacticians or gladiators yet. So the executioners and menders both have a preferred slot for the extra 100 item level. Uh, Tranquility, dominance, dominance, brutality. Skill, dominance, dominance, brutality. Precision, dominance, dominance, dominance. Skill, dominance, 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 and dominance, dominance, precision, dominance. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of these 20 gears. Oh, I'm sorry, 14, because there's a tranquility. 14 of the 20. 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 14. Yeah, 14 of the 20 gears, or 70% of these insignias, have Forte. And that's how we're getting all the Forte to give us all this power right here. And I know a lot of players have mostly that are using Raptors are using skills and aggressions and brutalities, and that's totally cool. And it's if you want to change over to Forte, it's really expensive because you have to sell all those skills and aggressions and then um, buy those dominance and tranquilities. I don't know how much they are on other platforms, but the prices of insignias have been going down. And this is great. And to be honest, I get invited to last bosses very often, and I just tell them I don't have a Raptor, and they don't care. As long as you're doing your job. Most players using Raptors are over capped on power anyway, so the 3.5%, 3.75 I'm not bringing to the table doesn't matter. Or if I really, really need to, guess what I could do? I could summon the Portobello. And I didn't cover that. Well, we're still on mounts. So mount power. We're using Bigby because that's basically the only option we have. We can use a another 3,000 mount like Tunnel Vision or Toad or the Golden Warhorse. But the problem with those is they're magical based, and I have all my points into strength. So the only mount power that's affected by strength right now is Big B's hand. And then companions. I have all the companions I use on this one page. Here's all the companions in the game, -1. And here's all the companions I use in the game. Uh, if you notice, I only use the Chilton Hunter for casual content, but for endgame content, nobody I know is using a striking content. Striking. All these companions that do damage, they're all garbage. You're gonna get more damage out of a buffing companion as a group than you will with these, because part of learning this, when you learn this game, you tend to go from worrying about your damage to endgame where you worry about the group's damage. And this could do this Cholton Hunter or Greenscale Bowman or whatever companion could do, 50 million or 100 million damage, but the tutor may contribute to the group doing 150 million damage or whatever. I'm just a big believer in buffing support companions that make everybody do better. I could be wrong, but these are all the companions I use. I'll use the tutor. I'll use the Rothan MGR or Tia, especially if the group's learning and nobody else is using it. I'll just put it on. So tutor, Dritz, Regis is for AoE, Spine Devil. I'll use the Shadowkai and Moondancer because I don't have the Minotaur, and I'll use it in Master Tia as well. Stalwart Online, this is the one I use more than anything. The Chilton Hunter I use in casual content, where these buffing companions really don't help anybody except me because a lot of those players are still learning how to play. Portobello, which is one of the best buffers in the game, and the Scorpion, which is going to give us constant, well, not constant, it is not 100% uptime. When the bosses move, that Scorpion's chasing will lose that buff. But it really helps getting those artifact calls, making sure everything gets combat advantage. These are all the only companions I really use in the game. I got them all, and it doesn't matter. Like, we got big hitters in here. We got like the Paranoid and the War Drummer and the Green Scale, and they're all garbage in my opinion. You know, you're gonna get more out of buffing companions than you will out of these. Could be wrong. All right. I know this is super long-winded, but I get asked a million questions when I do these build videos, so I try to be thorough, and cover the reason behind every single thing I do. If you got any questions, comments, or how to improve this, please be critical and tell me what we can do better. Stay classy, Neverwinter. See you soon.